up a fight to release all of the Jeffrey Epstein files. And this explosive move by the Democrats today, who released an image on X saying, here it is, Trump's birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein that the president said doesn't exist, which depicts the outline of a woman's body. The sexually suggestive note was allegedly written and signed by the president to Epstein on his 50th birthday. Tonight, the White House denies it's the president's signature. He's suing the Wall Street Journal for defamation for first reporting about it. It was all part of the first set of documents obtained by the House Oversight Committee that issued a subpoena late last month to the Epstein estate. Let's get right to ABC's Jay O'Brien, who leads us off tonight from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, under subpoena, the estate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein delivering to the Republican-led House Oversight Committee the so-called birthday book, a collection of messages given to Epstein for his 50th birthday, including this one, allegedly from President Trump. Democrats on the committee posting the letter online, a crudely drawn outline of his body around lines, including, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey, and Nicholas never age. Have you noticed that?" And at the bottom of this, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." The type signature of Donald J. Trump, and underneath handwritten in thick marker, Donald. News of the letter's existence was first reported back in July with the Wall Street Journal. At the time, Trump called it fake.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name.
Then saying this.
I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women. That I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women.
The president quickly filing a $10 billion defamation lawsuit against the Journal and its conservative owner, Rupert Murdoch. Tonight, the White House doubling down. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt writing, "President Trump did not draw this picture, and he did not sign it," saying Trump's lawyers will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Trump and Epstein were friends for more than a decade in the 1990s. The birthday book was given to Epstein in 2003, 3 years before he was first arrested for sex crimes. The messages were compiled by Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, currently serving 20 years for sex trafficking. She described the book in her recent interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
I coordinated the money together. In some instances, I called people to ask them to contribute.
Blanche, who used to be the president's personal lawyer, asking Maxwell if Trump had contributed a message to the book. She told him she didn't remember.
Our thanks to Jay O'Brien. Overseas now to Jerusalem, where 2 Palestinian gunmen stormed a bus stop during the morning rush hour, killing several people and sending terrifying passengers running for cover. Here's ABC's Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Penn with that story.
This was the Palestinian government and rescuing and capturing terrifying passengers, fleeing the town. 2 gunmen targeting passengers that would be violent, killing 6 and wounding more than a dozen. An off-duty soldier and the bystanders stepping in, returning shots and killing the 2 attackers. This was one of the worst incidents in Israel since October 7th, 2023.
This is
red sweatshirt is DeCarlos Brown Jr. About 4.5 minutes later, Brown rises from his seat and, unprovoked, the video shows him stab her multiple times. Brown walking through the car with blood dripping behind him as a crowd of people rushed to tend to Zarutska, who was declared dead at the scene. Officers arresting Brown as he stepped off the train. 23-year-old Irina Zarutska was born in Kyiv. She fled the war in Ukraine with her family in 2022. Who write in her obituary, she was a gifted and passionate artist and loved animals. DeCarlos Brown is a repeat offender with a violent history, including armed robbery, with a misdemeanor case pending at the time of the attack. He's now facing first-degree murder. The incident drawing national attention and outrage from President Trump, who spoke against cashless bail.
Cashless mail started a wave in our country where a killer kills somebody and is out on the street by the afternoon. In many cases, going out and killing again.
Our thanks to Stephen Rose. Next tonight, President Trump continues to take aim at Chicago, threatening to send the National Guard to the city caught in another weekend of gun violence. At least 6 people were killed, 18 others wounded. The president also ignited outrage over the weekend, putting out on social media an ominous image about his immigration directive. It was a Supreme Court victory for the administration. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas to explain further. Hi, Pierre.
Lizzie, the city of Chicago is bracing for an immigration enforcement surge after the president posted on social media over the weekend that the city was, quote, about to find out why it's called the Department of War. He later downplayed the post, and there's still no word on when the National Guard might be deployed in Chicago. But today, Homeland Security officials announced that Operation Midway Bliss has been launched, which they say will target the worst of the worst foreign nationals accused of crimes. And today, the administration, as you say, got more leeway for aggressive enforcement after the Supreme Court lifted restrictions on ICE agents operating in California, whose tactics had been criticized as racial profiling. Lindsay.
Pierre Thomas for us. Thanks so much, Pierre. Let's bring in retired NYPD Chief of Detectives Bob Boyes. Bob, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Given the president's threat of war with Chicago, what do you anticipate might happen in the coming days?
Well, let's start with the immigration guys. They have just been given a okay by the Supreme Court to do tactics against what they believe to be someone who is in this country illegally. And Justice Kavanaugh, it's reasonable to briefly this is a common sense criteria. This is not a also be instructions of trade, as well as on the difficulty in speaking the English so that's the issue here. They've been given this okay by the federal government. It's very similar, Lizzie, to stop and question in the New York state law. Very similar, only this time is for illegal presence in the U.S.
And when it comes to fighting the city's crime, is the president warranted? What do you make of the crime stats?
Well, I will tell you, it's kind of like a hollow argument when you see something like it's down from last year, because 2019 is the last year anybody is measuring crime. That's before pre-COVID, pre-flood, pre-criminal justice reform. So that's the ball that everyone looks at, not last year. Here's the issue, Lindsay, really, really clear. They lead the nation in homicides for the past 13 years. No one's even close. Out of 3 major cities, there's 6 times more than in New York City, and 7 times more than LA. So the issue is there. Last year's numbers really don't matter to people who are killed. You said earlier, Labor Day weekend, this past weekend. So that's where this is coming from.
As we just heard, the Supreme Court is now backing the Trump administration when it comes to aggressive immigration raids. How would you expect that to impact things?
Well, I'd say now because they okayed it for LA, it's going to be the same in Chicago. Chicago could sue it because the Supreme Court justice is going to use the same tactics. So these are roving raids. They're going to locations where immigrants kind of get together. And it's mostly shake-up spots for the most part. And they're allowed to stop and question them briefly as to where they are, where they belong, and any identification.
Generally speaking, given the current state of affairs, what do you think the overall sentiment is right now across law enforcement agencies nationwide?
I think most people want help. I will tell you, I was chief of detectives from 2014 to 2018, and we had a lot of federal government, with their resources, with their data systems, they help us do that. That's the way it should be done. And these are investigations. Now, I understand if something's out of control, you wouldn't put a lot of people, cops on the street, police officers on the street, federal agents. That's understandable. That's a short-term goal. You want a long-term goal, long-term strategy, and you do that with joint task forces.
Boyce, thank you so much for your time, as always. Now to Florida, where jury selection got off to a rocky start in the case against the man accused of trying to kill President Trump on a golf course last year. The defendant, who has pleaded not guilty in the case, is acting as his own attorney despite having little legal experience. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Eric Katersky.
Tonight, the high-stakes trial for the man charged with trying to assassinate Donald Trump on the golf course. Ryan Ruth arriving at a Florida courthouse where he's representing himself.
Keep walking!
The last time we saw Ruth, he was shirtless and in handcuffs after prosecutors say he fled this sniper's nest in the bushes at Trump International in West Palm Beach. Secret Service agents said they fired at Ruth after spotting the barrel of an assault-style rifle jutting through the shrubs about 100 yards away from Trump. It was just weeks after Trump survived the attempt on his life in Pennsylvania. Today in court, Ruth tried asking prospective jurors about Trump's policies on Greenland and Israel, and what they would do if they saw a turtle in the road while driving, saying it spoke to their character. But Judge Eileen Cannon having none of it. She has said she wants to prevent the trial from devolving into calculated chaos.
Our thanks to Aaron. A major snub for actor Tom Hanks. A West Point alumni group is now canceling an award ceremony in his honor. Hanks, of course, is the star of Saving Private Ryan and a well-known advocate for American veterans. Meanwhile, President Trump is praising the decision. Here's ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman.
Tonight, in a major snub, a West Point alumni group canceling an award ceremony honoring Oscar-winning actor and well-known veterans advocate Tom Hanks. Hanks set to receive the Sylvanus Thayer Award, recognizing American citizens who live by the school's motto, duty, honor, country. The actor famously portraying the bravery of American soldiers for decades. From Forrest Gump, I told you to leave me there, Gump! To the World War II epic, Saving Private Ryan. Hanks also co-producing the acclaimed miniseries Band of Brothers, and going to Normandy last year to pay his respects on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Tonight, the West Point Association of Graduates telling the Washington Post the decision to cancel the ceremony allows it to focus on its core mission of preparing cadets to lead, fight, and win. But Hanks has been a critic of President Trump, whose administration ordered West Point to throw out books on topics including diversity and racism, and to disband cultural and professional student clubs. Tonight, President Trump praising the move on social media, saying West Point smartly canceled the ceremony, adding, "We don't need destructive, woke recipients getting our cherished American awards."
Thanks to Matt Gutman, and we're tracking several headlines around the world. In Mexico, a freight train slammed into a double-decker bus today, killing at least 10 people and injuring 61 others. The accident took place in an industrial area northwest of Mexico City. Security footage shows the moment the train plowed into the bus as it was crossing the tracks. Authorities said that they're still investigating what caused the accident. Russia is ramping up attacks on Ukraine as President Zelensky declined an invitation to go to Moscow for peace talks. Ukrainian officials said 30 people were killed and more than 100 were injured after Russia launched 142 drones overnight, some of them striking a thermal power plant near Kyiv, resulting in power and gas disruptions. President Trump reiterated Sunday, quote, that he was not happy with Vladimir Putin and also threatened tougher sanctions. French Prime Minister Francois Bayrou lost a vote of confidence in the French Parliament today. This means he must automatically resign as Prime Minister. President Macron will now need to bargain with opposition parties to find support for a new Prime Minister. This is the fourth time the French Parliament has ousted a Prime Minister in less than 2 years. A new wildfire has broken out tonight in San Diego County, prompting evacuation orders for the town of Lakeside, California. Aerials of the fire show multiple structures burning. CAL FIRE says that the blaze for now is only 5% contained. All of San Diego County is currently experiencing either severe or extreme drought conditions. Coming up, the awkward interview moment going viral. How the stars of the film After the Hunt responded to an uncomfortable question at the Venice Film Festival. And actor Charlie Sheen opens up about what he calls the darkest times in his life. His one-on-one with our Michael Strahan and the details of his new tell-all memoir when we come back.
All Uber drivers
drivers pass a background check before their first ride and are rescreened every year. So no matter where you're going, you can travel with added peace of mind every time you ride. That's safety simplified. Uber.
With Thrivent, your personal finances aren't just personal. We use money as a tool to help all the people we hold in our hearts. Because the most important thing isn't what you're planning for, it's who. Thrivent, where money means more.
High-quality tools you need at the prices you deserve. Shop and save at your new Harbor Freight.
Bell Big Boxes. More food, more flavor. Only at Del Taco.
Get the most out of your Sequoia National Park adventure by making Visalia, California, your base camp. Plan today at visitvisalia.com. Base camp to the Sequoias.
Looking for you. When you call my name, and when I see your
stars of the film After the Hunt are going viral for their response to a reporter who asked a rather awkward question at the Venice Film Festival. Here's our Rhiannon Alley with one of the biggest trending stories of the night.
Okay. At the Venice Film Festival, an interview gone awry. Cast members for the film After the Hunt, Ayo Adebari, Julia Roberts, and Andrew Garfield ended up in a viral moment.
The two of you.
An Italian journalist for Artsline TV asked a question about the Me Too and Black Lives Matter movements, but addressed it only to veteran actors Roberts and Garfield, rather than relative newcomer Adebari.
Okay. Can you repeat that? And I with your sunglasses on, I can't tell which of us you're talking to, so.
So the question was for Julia and Andrew. Now that the Me Too era and the Black Lives Matters are done, what we have to expect in Hollywood, and what we lost, if we lost something with the politically correct era.
Adebari quickly jumping in.
I know that that's not for me, and I don't know if it's purposeful if it's not, but I just am curious. I don't think it's done. I agree with you, John. I don't think it's done at all. I think maybe hashtags might not be used as much, but I do think that there's work being done by activists, by people every day. That's beautiful, important work that's not finished.
Her response going viral, with fans praising her. One calling the actress, known for starring in Hulu's The Bear, a superstar class act. The journalist, Federica Polidoro, has since responded online, saying she would like to clarify that rather than focusing on the thoughtful responses, the discussion continues solely on how I should have phrased the question.
Our thanks to Rhiannon and Allie. Coming up, Charlie Sheen opens up about his lifelong battle with addiction. What he's saying about the day his father turned him into a phone.
Want your loved ones to know when you're on your way? Turn on Share My Trip in the Uber app, and we'll keep them updated on your live trip location. That's safety simplified. Uber.
Hey, how's it going, man?
High-quality tools you need at the prices you deserve. Shop and save at your new Harbor Freight.
Well, big boxes. More food, more flavor. Only at Del Taco.
Get the most out of your Sequoia National Park adventure by making Visalia,
Can I get that Lakers hat?
California your base camp. Plan today at visitvisalia.com. Base camp to the Sequoias.
Thanks, man. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Where, bro?
Now to an exclusive with Charlie Sheen. The actor is telling all in a new memoir, sharing parts of his life he's kept secret, like his stutter and his lifelong struggle with addiction. ABC's Michael Strahan sat down with him.
Did your family read the book?
They have, yeah.
And?
Yeah.
They
were thoroughly entertained. And Dad was like halfway through it. He said, he says your use of humor in your darkest moments is a gift to the reader, is how he described it.
Charlie Sheen grew up on movie sets with his dad, Martin Sheen, following his older brother, Emilio Estevez, into the family business right out of high school.
You want to know what's wrong?
I know what's wrong. Just want to hear you say it. But he'd been keeping a secret from everyone. A stutter. People don't realize you've had a lifelong issue with stuttering.
Yeah.
You wrote this. Not being able to say certain words or sounds was one of the main reasons I learned to drink like I did.
How about that? How about that?
Well, how did drinking help that?
Drinking just made everything to be, it softened the edges. It gave me just freedom of speech.
It wasn't until he joined the sitcom Spin City in 2000 that he stopped hiding it.
I know that must have been really hard for you.
It was. You stuck me with a check.
Did that feel liberating? Did it feel good to get that off your chest?
It did. It did. Yeah. Because like I write in the book, when I got the first script for Spin, I was going through it. I was like, oh, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. I can't say that. So yeah, when in doubt, just be human enough to be vulnerable. and to know that it's okay to ask for help.
There was also his very public lifelong battle with addiction. His family staged an intervention when he was 24 years old, followed by his first of many rehab stints in 1990.
Well, quote, I didn't get sober for me. I got sober for them. It was only a matter of time before I stepped out of the side door to the alley where all things fun and familiar were lurking on standby. Why do you think you just weren't ready for sobriety at that time?
It's hard to ask for help when somebody else has raised your hand for you. And so I think that was the theme of, knowing it was only a matter of time.
1998, you had a overdose.
I did.
My son was admitted here yesterday as a result of a drug overdose.
Your dad turned you in for violating probation. What was that like?
It felt just the biggest betrayal you could possibly endure.
So you didn't see it as love, you saw it as betrayal.
Saw it as love eventually, but in the moment, it's like when in the book my bodyguard comes to the bedroom door and he says, the U.S. Marshals are on the way. We're leaving in 5.
Sheen said he was sober for several years until he began using prescription pills while starring in 2.5 Men.
You wrote the book. As the show wore on, it was 2.5 personalities I had to embody. Sober guy for Chuck, friendly guy for my co-stars and crew, half of whatever guy left over for me. Fear guy, mostly. What were you afraid of?
With the pills on board, I was afraid of getting outed for that because there was a lot of it. There was an AA energy on the set.
So when there's shame with you now, all of a sudden, you can't take your pills and I put this out there that I'm this sober guy when I know I'm really not.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a terrible feeling. You got to remember who, always worry about who knows what.
I was aware things were coming unglued.
All of the ups and downs of his tumultuous life are explored in the upcoming Netflix docuseries, a.k.a. Charlie Sheen, told by those who experienced it alongside him.
You wanted to like him because he was lovable, brilliant, handsome, charming, and smart.
From his famous friends, former co-stars and showrunner, to his ex-wives and children.
When it started to change, it was quick.
You can't really have a relationship with someone going through addiction.
It seems like everyone, you've gone out of your way to make amends with the people that you feel like you've hurt in your life.
I have.
And that's been important to you.
Yes. Yeah. There's a few people still out there that if I could get in touch with them or if our paths are meant to cross, that there's still some of that available for them.
What do you want people to take away from it?
I would like to, be respected or appreciated as a writer, as an author. I think that'd be really cool. But I also, this story should have ended 100 and it didn't. So whatever happens next might be just, where some of the real gold has been hidden.
Sounds like big plans ahead still for the future. Our thanks to Michael Strahan for that conversation. That is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
Want your loved ones to know when you're on your way? Turn on Share My Trip in the Uber app, and we'll keep them updated on your live trip location. That's safety simplified. Uber.
High-quality tools you need at the prices you deserve. Shop and save at your new Harbor Freight.
Bell Big Boxes. More food, more flavor. Only at Del Taco.
It's fine. Thanks.
ABC News Live presents War or Peace, the Zelensky interview. Here now, Martha Raddatz.
It has been 3 weeks now since President Trump and Vladimir Putin summit in Alaska, and here in Ukraine, the war seems to have no end in sight. This week, Russia launching its largest air attack since the war began. More than 800 armed drones and over a dozen cruise missiles. Smoke seen rising from Ukraine's cabinet building in Kyiv, with part of the building left on fire. That drone strike follows a Russian cruise missile strike on an American-owned factory in western Ukraine. President Trump said he was not happy with that attack and set another deadline for a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. That deadline has now come and gone. The question of war or peace still hangs in the balance. We met President Zelensky in the rubble of that American factory hit by Russia and asked him about any prospects for negotiating peace in this year.
Yeah, he's what he's doing.
We'll see. We met President Volodymyr Zelensky at this hollowed-out American-owned factory here in western Ukraine, destroyed by Russian cruise missiles 2 weeks ago. All 600 employees made it to the nearby bunker, but more than 20 were injured. This American-owned building, do you think Putin targeted this on purpose?
I think nobody knows. Maybe only God. Yes, but Putin knows what he's doing. Here, 1,000 kilometers, the distance to the front, even a little bit more.
Not an area that's usually hit.
No.
In fact, this region in southwest Ukraine, hundreds and hundreds of miles from the war's front line, has rarely been hit over the entire course of the war. The factory produces everyday items from coffee machines to lamps to printer cartridges, and is the largest employer in the region.
There are no any kind of military, this factories or these lines of production of drones or production of electronic warfare. This is government. Really, I'm not sure that is dangerous for Russia, second biggest army in the world.
The attack came just days after President Trump's Alaska summit with Vladimir Putin.
I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. We'll see what happens. I think over the next 2 weeks, we're going to find out which way it's going to go. And I better be very happy.
President Trump had hoped for a ceasefire during the summit. He rolled out the red carpet, offered a warm handshake, a ride in the presidential limousine. But after a 3-hour closed-door meeting among the two leaders and their close advisors, no questions from the press, no ceasefire reached, no specifics announced.
Many points were agreed to, and there are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there.
But the leaders' friendly relationship, which Trump has been criticized for, was on full display.
Yeah, I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir.
I would like to thank President Trump for our joint work, for the well-wishing and trustworthy tone of our conversation.
The Russian leader even backing up Trump's central claim about the war's beginning.
Today, when President Trump said that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that.
President Trump had originally wanted a trilateral meeting with President Zelensky in attendance. Putin vetoed that. Zelensky had to simply monitor from afar the summit in Alaska. What was that like?
I was not there.
You were not there.
I was not there. What can I say?
You were here, and you were watching that summit. What did you think when you saw that? You saw the red carpet and you saw Putin arrive to talk about your country?
I don't know. I think that it was a bilateral summit, and it's a pity that Ukraine was not there, because I think that President Trump gave Putin what he wanted. He wanted very much to meet with President Trump, with the President of the United States, and I think that Putin got it, and it's a pity. Putin doesn't want to meet with me, but he wants very much to meet with the President of the United States to show everybody video and images that he is there.
So did that accomplish anything as you look at it, the summit? Anything in terms of peace?
I don't know. I don't know.
The White House touted the meeting as a success, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio told me at the time there were still big areas of disagreement.
We're still a long ways off. We're not at the precipice of a peace agreement. We're not at the edge of one, but I do think progress was made towards one.
And he downplayed President Trump's backtracking on his demand that a ceasefire be reached before the real negotiations begin.
That's not the aim of this agreement. First of all, you're not going to reach
The president said that was the aim.
agreement. Yeah, but you're not going to reach a ceasefire or peace agreement in a meeting in which only one side is represented. That's why it's important to bring both leaders together, and that's the goal here. The president has said what he'd like to see at some point is we make enough progress so both leaders, Zelensky and Putin, can meet somewhere and finalize this.
President Trump was specific, setting a 2-week deadline for Putin to meet with Zelensky with a vague threat attached.
Where are you waiting to go next?
I'm going to make a decision as to what we do. And it's going to be a very important decision. And that's whether or not it's massive sanctions or massive tariffs or both. Or do we do nothing and say it's your fight? We're going to see whether or not they have a meeting. It'll be interesting to see. And if they don't, why did they have a meeting? Because I told them to have a meeting. But I'll know in 2 weeks what I'm going to do.
But 2 weeks later, no apparent action on the part of the White House. Mr. President, you talk about more sanctions and more tariffs and more help from President Trump. And you have told him you think he has the power to do this. And yet, the deadlines pass again and again, and another one has passed.
We all understand that we need additional pressure on Putin. Putin doesn't understand, doesn't respect